Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friday and the Butt Fumble Sports Daily Show. You have made it through your work week. You made it through the first round of the NFL Draft, and you are here on Friday afternoon, but nothing but weekend ahead of you and nothing but sports ahead of you. What a time to be alive. I am so pumped to be with you guys today here on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, as once again we will go through the draft. We're not gonna be live for the draft, but we'll talk about what happened in round one. We'll talk about what could happen in rounds 2 and 3 tonight. We're also talking NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, a great full slate of MLB action. So welcome in, everybody, and thanks for making time to join Butt Fumble Sports, a sports content company created by a rabid sports fan for you real sports fans at home. If you're new to our content, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe, make sure you're here every time we go live, because what do we do here? We talk sports, we rant about what's going on, we do research for sports bets, we give out picks, and we talk fantasy sports. So make sure you get in on the conversation. TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. Doesn't matter what platform you watch on, because we're here for all of you. Write your questions in the comment section. If there's a specific bet you want us to research, if there's a topic you want us to cover. Obviously, we spoke a little bit about winners and losers in a video I put out on YouTube, Twitch, Kick last night. Big winners to me, NFC North. Crazy how the Vikings and Bears got so much better in one first round. Meanwhile, what are the Buffalo Bills doing? Look, a lot of people are back and forth on the Atlanta Falcons. Some people like the move. Some people think it was moronic. I'm kind of on the moronic side. But that said, what are the Buffalo Bills doing, allowing the Kansas City Chiefs to not only get better, but for the Bills to continue to let first-round wide receiver talent get to other teams? Makes no sense to me. I would say Buffalo is the biggest loser from last night. Maybe IP Shade agrees with me over on TikTok. Let us know what you think. Who are the winners? Who are the losers? Would love to get reactions to that NFL draft last night, the first round. Let us know what you think. Again, we're doing research for tonight's NBA, MLB, and obviously NHL action. So if you guys have questions, here to do some research. I know that there was a question already posed. We'll get to Damian Lillard point total in a moment. The Cooper movie asks, does Drake May, is he a significant piece to the Patriots offense? Absolutely. And here's what I would say to all you Patriot fans out there that are kind of wondering if you didn't get one of the better quarterbacks last night, if you made a mistake, if Drake May is not worth it this year. Just think about this. Drake May is 21 years old. So if he had stayed in college for one more year, he would be a guaranteed number 1 overall pick next year. Next year's draft class when it comes to quarterback is very, very weak. So Drake May would most likely be the number 1 quarterback in that class and most likely the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. So if I told a Patriots fan, you could get the number 1 overall pick, the quarterback, in the 2025 NFL draft, and you can have him 1 year ready for the NFL, would you take that? I actually think you would at 3 overall. I think the Patriots actually came out in this draft okay, not only because they got Drake May, but they're going to get the opportunity to draft a really good wide receiver or trade for a wide receiver. A lot of talk about Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk as well. But the Patriots have a chance to really upgrade their offense at the quarterback and wide receiver position with the first 2 picks of their draft. Not a bad way to kick things off for them in the new Gerard Mayo era. Jay Willis, great to see you. What's up? What about Spencer Rattler? Keep your eye on Rattler tonight. I still think Rattler is probably the best steal sleeper pick of this draft. What do I mean by that? He's this year's Russell Wilson. He's this year's Dak Prescott, a guy who easily could have gone in the late first, early second round, who's probably going to fall to maybe the third round just because he doesn't have the same sizzle or sex appeal in terms of a pick as the other prospects, but in terms of actual ability, Spencer Rattler is almost as good as anyone in this draft. He just had a very, very strange collegiate journey going through the transfer portal a couple times, but expect Spencer Rattler to go somewhere, and actually I think he could be a very good pick for someone. The Cooper movie, I don't expect the Pats to go defense in the second round. I would make that bet with you 10 times out of 10. First of all, this isn't a very good defensive draft. Second of all, the Patriots actually have a pretty good defense where they really need to address things. Quarterback, they did that. Offensive line, they could do that. Wide receiver, I think they go wide receiver. Ladd McConkey is still on the board. Keon Coleman, I think whoever gets Keon Coleman out of Florida State is getting an absolute dog at a discounted price. I watched Keon Coleman this year for Florida State, and I thought, I want that guy on my football team. He can go after any jump ball. He's incredibly physical. He's tough. I'd love to see him in New England as well. A couple of options there for the Patriots, so I think they're going wide receiver unless they find a tight end, a tackle rather, that they like. Bills get Keon. Casey, for the Bills, I'd love that move. Keon Coleman would certainly fit what they're trying to do there. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are loving the conversation. Let's get into some research for everybody. We're going to give out picks over the course of the show, but the first player prop bet that we have been asked about is about Damian Lillard. Dame Lillard and his point total. No Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight, so that's going to obviously play into our research for Dame Lillard. Now, when it comes to points allowed at the point guard position, Pacers have been very good so far this year. We've highlighted that before. Against the Pacers, though, back games where Lillard has gone over 30 points, and in this case, over 31, because his point total for tonight right now is set at 31.5. You can get that at plus 118. Just a note, this opened at 29.5, climbed all the way up to 31.5, and has sat there pretty consistently throughout the day. What we care most about, how has he done without Giannis Antetokounmpo in the lineup? And he has been incredibly consistent, actually, getting around 30 points. He has gone over 29.5 points in 14 of 20 games played this year without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Very, very good bet, very consistent. I would ride this one on the road. Pretty decent play as well, 12 out of the last 20. Now, he didn't get it in the last one that he had without Giannis on the road. That was a miss. That was against the Orlando Magic in OT. But this has been a pretty consistent trend. I'd be willing to ride with it, not at 31.5, but at 29.5. That's Damian Lillard over 29.5 points. Again, I want to make sure that reaching 30 points cashes my bet, not reaching 32. That's a bit too much for me. I think he probably gets to 32. So if you want to take the original line, I'm not going to talk you out of it. All I'm saying is if I were to place a bet on this prop, I would go with Damian Lillard over 29.5 points. So that bet's what's going to get us started. If you have a bet out there that you want some help with your research, or if there's a game that you'd like a pick for, let us know. Butt Fumble Sports is here to help you guys out in any way we can. Or if there's a topic you want to talk about, like Pluex, you think the Bills get Mitchell or Coleman? I think they do. My only question is Mitchell off the board by the time? I think the Bills could trade back again. Bills traded back with the Chiefs, obviously. They traded back with Carolina. I could see them trading back again, continuing to acquire more draft capital. I understand that the Bills need a lot of pieces. They let a lot of talented starters go this offseason. I just felt like trading with the Chiefs should have been off limits to them. However, I get that they may want to continue to acquire valuable draft capital. If so, trading back one more time would kind of make sense. Anthony, how do we like the Giants? Check. The Cubs? Check. The Twins? Check. The Rays? Check. The Orioles? Check, check, check. I love every pick that you just put out there on the board. So as a reiteration, I like the Orioles money line. I like the Cubs money line. I like the Rays money line. I like the Twins money line. And I like the Giants money line. So Anthony, I am riding with you all the way on those picks. Let me actually put some of those up there in case some of you guys missed it. I do like the Giants on the money line. Let's take a quick look actually at how the money's coming down on these games, just to show you guys. It might actually encourage some of the bets that we're about to make. You look at this Giants game, money coming down on the Giants. I like the Giants to win. Giants on the money line. So 78% of the money is on the Giants to win. 98% of the money is on the Giants to cover a minus 1.5 run line. I like the Giants on the money line for that one. How about the Twins? The Twins play the Angels tonight. Bailey Ober on the mound. There's actually some money coming down on the Angels, so this might be one in which we want to avoid it. Just letting you guys know, might be a game that you don't want to touch. How about the next one? Rays play the White Sox. Rays are getting 98% of the money. We feel very good about that. put Rays money line up on your big board. I think that one's going to be a cashing ticket. Next game that we're going to talk about, Cubs, Red Sox. Money's actually coming down on the Red Sox on the money line. Maybe you want to avoid it. Cutter Crawford is on the bump for the Red Sox. He's been their best starter so far this year. Another game that we're talking about is the Mets. Mets on the money line. Keep your eye on this one. I actually do like Mets to win. A lot of money coming down on the Mets, so I am kind of following the money tonight. Mets getting 96% of the money. I love that one. Finally, A's out in Baltimore, not in Oakland, out in Baltimore. Orioles are a heavy favorite. We certainly like the Orioles. So 4 MLB picks that I just put up on my board, all backed by the heavy money coming down from on the markets. Giants money line, Rays money line, Mets money line, Orioles money line. So we're right there with you, Anthony. Zubob, Dodgers versus Blue Jays. I'm actually liking the Blue Jays to cover, but let's see how the money is coming down on this game. Right now, Dodgers are getting more of the love, so you may want to go with the Dodgers. I took the Blue Jays plus 1.5. I understand this may be a split decision for a number of you folks out there. You might want to avoid it. Are we trusting Eflin for the Rays? Yes, we are tonight. Are they locks or risky? Anthony, I'll say this to you. If you watch the show, you'll hear me say it religiously. I don't believe in locks. I don't believe there is such a thing. And I think when you have that mentality, it actually probably means you're susceptible to a loss because you don't understand the risk you're taking. There are no such things as a lock. There's a risk to everything. But if we're placing a bet, it's because we have good conviction on it. It's because the trends back it. And actually, the MLB picks that we just gave out, the money is also behind it. So it's not just our plays. It's also that the public money and kind of the sharp money, the smart money is coming down on it. We certainly like when all those things are going in the same direction. Yusuf, we appreciate the kind words, buddy. Great to see you watching the show. If you guys have a question, a comment, you want to get in on the conversation, please write it down. Anthony, so Cubs Twins is harder games, right? Yep. Those are ones that are a bit more in the coin flip area. Zubob, D-backs with Gallon. I think you're probably right. Diamondbacks on the money line feels like probably a good play. How do we actually feel about it? Let me pull up my notes on it. Against the Seattle Mariners, the problem is, according to the notes on ballparkpal.com, it's actually not a great bet. How is the public betting this game, though? So the data behind it suggests this isn't a good one actually for the Diamondbacks. The money's coming down on the Diamondbacks, so if you want to follow the money, follow Arizona, but the probabilities actually are in line with Seattle. Yusuf, thoughts on J.J. McCarthy and Kirk? J.J. McCarthy went to the perfect situation. The reason they have a they have a good offensive line for passing, decent for running, but he's got 2 great wide receivers, 3 great pass catchers on that offense. You have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. So J.J. McCarthy in many ways goes to one of the best situations in the league. I understand Caleb Williams has 3 stud wide receivers to throw to. However, what's the offensive system in Chicago? We have no concerns about that in Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell has proven his system, his offensive system, over the last few years. I think Minnesota gets a quarterback that's ready to step in almost on day one. I actually think that J.J. McCarthy, while I'm not very high on him as a player, I think he went to a great situation for him to succeed. Drew, any chance Dallas takes a wide receiver in the second round? Very, very small chance of that. I don't think there's much likelihood of that. I think there are other positions of need that they need to address. Kick Rocks, what's your take on Nats and Marlins? Talk about a game that I'm avoiding almost on principle. These are 2 teams where they performed well at times this year. They disappointed at times. I think I'd go Marlins if I went in any direction, but probably missing that one altogether. Brody, you talking about draft? We are talking draft. We are doing our research for tonight's sports action, but we're also reacting to what we saw last night. So if you have a comment on last night's draft, a winner, a loser, a player you were surprised went to a certain place, I'll certainly say this. I mentioned this in my video that I posted on YouTube. What were the Raiders thinking? I understand the old adage is that you should take the most talented player on the board. But if you don't have a need at that position and you don't have the pieces around to make that player succeed, why would you take him? Brock Bowers, I I feel so bad for Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers went to if J.J. McCarthy went to the best situation last night, Brock Bowers went to the worst situation because the Raiders already had a tight end that they drafted last year in Michael Mayer. They already have issues at wide receiver with Devontae Adams not getting enough catches. You have a quarterback situation that right now is being banned by Gardner Minshew. You don't have enough offensive line talent. I just felt like this was an absolute reach by the Raiders. I understand that he might have been the best player on the board, the most talented player, but I think it's a reach outside of their needs. I thought this was a really, really bad pick by the Raiders. Big miss. I thought they should have gone offensive tackle. Carson H., who you got the Patriots taking? I think they're going to go Lab McConkey or they're going to go Keon Coleman with that second pick of the second round if they don't trade out of it to get a wide receiver. Dollar Bill, how high do you see Marvin Harrison Jr. getting drafted? In fantasy, I think he's going to be drafted too high, ironically. I think too many fantasy owners are going to expect him to put up big production when in reality, he's a number one wide receiver on kind of a bad offense, and every opposing team is going to try to take away Marvin Harrison Jr. But what I will say is he's going to get plenty of targets. So in fantasy, I think he's a good pick in rounds 10 and later. I think he's probably he's a bit of a reach in rounds 7, 8, and 9. If he goes earlier than that, he's absolutely a bad pick. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. is actually going to be the most productive rookie, a wide receiver next year. I think there are too many things working against him. That division, that quarterback, that offensive system. I think he'll be good, but I think he's a bit of a reach for fantasy owners. Again, if you take him in round 7, 8, and 9, if you take him 10 or later, I actually think he's worth the risk. Jorge, any player prop bets for Pacers and Bucks? Well, we did give out Damian Lillard over 29.5 points, so we like that a lot. Dollar Bill, Odunze, best rookie, I think. I think Odunze goes to a good spot, but I also understand his rookie production will not be as good as it could have been just because he's going to be the third wide receiver on the depth chart, so a little bit of an issue there. Carson H., thoughts on Vikings moving up for Turner? Love it. I actually think the Minnesota Vikings pulled a Houston Texans last night. They got the quarterback they wanted. They got the defensive stud that they wanted. They got their two stars, their two pillars, offense and defense, and they can build around them for the next few years. I love what the Vikings did. I thought Turner should have gone earlier. I thought Turner should have gone to a team like the Falcons, like the Raiders. I thought there were other teams that could have used his services more. I thought, or could have used his services over the players that they picked. But I thought that was a great move for the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings moved on from Danielle Hunter. This is a guy who can come in and take that spot a little bit. Jennings Gary is talking Bucks plus 6.5. Let's go look at that game. We're looking at the NBA playoff game between Pacers and Bucks. Bucks are a 6.5 point underdog. Right now, 69% of the money is on the Pacers to cover the spread. Keep in mind, the Pacers have done a really good job this year, actually, against the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's dive into that a little bit. So, other than the Game 1 win that was had in Milwaukee, the Bucks have only beaten the Pacers one other time this year. So, not a really good situation for the Bucks, if I can be honest. Pacers are at home. They're 2-0 at home this year against the Bucks. They covered the spread in both of those games. Now, they were an underdog in both those games. Keep in mind, the over also hit in both of those games. The over right now, the over-under set at 223. So, a little bit of a note there. Let's dive into some of the trends a little bit further. Let's look at the Pacers when they're a home favorite and they have 1 day of rest, and they're playing an opponent with an average winning percentage above 500. You guys like to know that's one of the bets I like to look at. How have they done against winning teams under these kinds of circumstances? So they've gone 10-5 so far this season, 9-5-1 against the spread, and not as good against the spread as I would have liked, going 2-3 over their last 5. But overall, Pacers to win is probably a very strong play tonight. I actually really like that one. So I'd be willing to go with it. Pacers on the money line. I think there is a chance the Bucks make this a bit of a tighter game. So if you wanted to take Bucks on the spread, I get it. But for the moment, I'll take Pacers on the money line. I'll put that one up on the big board. I do think the Pacers get the win tonight. No Giannis certainly impacting things. Which top picks do you think will be duds? Ooh, great question. In the dud category, I'll say Michael Penix Jr. in this way. By the time we see him, it could be 3 years from now, and his career could be lost. People are trying to compare him to Jordan Love. It's just not an accurate comparison. Jordan Love needed the year plus to develop. He didn't have a lot of exposure in college. He needed time. Michael Penix Jr. is actually one of the most experienced quarterbacks coming out of college that we've had in years. So the fact that they're going to have him sit for another 2-3 years just doesn't make sense to me. I could see him being a bust, especially at number 8 overall. Again, I'm going to say it. I don't want to believe it, but I think it's going to happen. I hate Brock Bowers with the Raiders. I think Brock Bowers is as talented a tight end as we've had come out in years. In some ways, more talented as a tight end than Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts might be more athletic, but he's kind of just a big wide receiver, less so a tight end. Brock Bowers is like a true, if you built him in a laboratory, a true tight end. But I just hate the place he went. So I could see him going to Vegas and just getting lost in a bad offense, not producing like we expect, going through quarterback changes, head coaching changes, going through offensive coordinator changes. So I could see Brock Bowers end up being a dud or a bust simply because he went to the wrong place. That is a concern I'd have for him. It's probably the reason, if you guys saw the reaction of his family, I actually think that's why his dad reacted the way that he did. A lot of people have been making jokes about Brock Bowers' father, his reaction to the pick being announced, being, some people are like, oh, that's a guy who clearly isn't allowed in Vegas. I think it's a guy who's like, I don't want my son going to Vegas. I don't want him going to that dog shit team. I thought it was a terrible situation for Brock Bowers. Let's put it this way. For the last 2 months, Brock Bowers was projected to go to the Jets. A perfect situation for him. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson at wide receiver, no other tight end to really compete with. He goes to a team that's contending for maybe a division, maybe even a conference title. Instead, he goes to the Raiders, arguably the worst team in that division. You could argue at least the worst team in the AFC West. So really no chance of making the playoffs. Certainly almost no chance of winning the division over the next few years. He doesn't have a solidified starting quarterback. Gardner Minshew is a Band-Aid on a larger wound if you're the Raiders. Where does Brock Bowers see light at the end of that tunnel? I thought it was just a terrible pick, and I feel bad for him. I think it's going to derail his career from the start. CFT, you didn't see how the season ended with Antonio. Look, I like the Raiders with Antonio Pierce. So don't hear it this way. I think the Raiders have a lot to be optimistic about. If you were a stud tight end, Vegas is a place you wouldn't want to go to. They aren't built to really take on a stud tight end. They could have used a wide receiver more to pair on the other side of the field with Devontae. They could have used an offensive lineman, because other than Colton Miller, they really don't have one offensive lineman that you really, really trust. There are so many positions. Their defense could have used help as well. So it's not that I have an issue with Antonio Pierce. It's that the Raiders, they took the most talented player. They didn't take the best player for them. And I think because of that, they won't see the full potential of that very talented player, Brock Bowers, which means it was a miss. If Brock Bowers is a 10, but you're only going to get 70% of his value, then you really got a 7. And I think that's what ultimately ended up happening, and I think the Raiders made a big mistake. Do you think the Jets missed on their pick or no? Carson H., I don't think so, and here's why. I went into this offseason saying the New York Jets had one job: build an offensive line that can protect Aaron Rodgers. If they accomplish that, they can legitimately go to a Super Bowl. They can win an AFC championship game. As crazy as it sounds now, it might seem like the Chiefs are so great compared to the Jets, but if Aaron Rodgers comes back healthy and is even 80% of the Aaron Rodgers we knew, that defense is elite. The Jets have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They actually have good pass catchers now. Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams. They have a really good offense. They have Breece Hall. They just need offensive line help. So getting more offensive linemen, you can't tell me that's a bad move. Would Brock Bowers have been a perfect fit there? Absolutely. But the most important thing for the New York Jets is to build a good offensive line. If the Jets have above average offensive line play this year, they are at least making the second round of the playoffs in my estimation. So I think the Jets did the right thing. Was it a sexy pick? No. Was it a Hall of Fame pick? Probably not. Was it a good pick for the New York Jets? I think it was. Charlie, what do you think the Browns do today? I think the Browns could trade back, to be honest. If I were the Browns, I might say whoever is the most talented defensive player still on the board will draft him. But other than that, the Browns may just trade back and continue to acquire depth on the team. I actually think the Browns have a really good roster in terms of the starting 22. I think they could be helped by filling out some of the holes in depth, because I think the Browns' one issue is they're very starter heavy. I don't think they have a lot of depth where if any of their starters went down, they would be able to maintain the kind of level of competition and quality play that their starters are capable of. Appreciate you, Frost. Andrew, Ravens pick last night. What were my thoughts on the Ravens pick? Okay, Ravens, I honestly thought that the Ravens were going to go wide receiver. I was a little surprised that they didn't. They went offensive lineman. But that said, I understand why. This was a draft where offensive linemen were incredibly valuable. What am I saying? They went corner. They went Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Great pick. Sorry, confused it. Love what the Ravens did. They needed to address their secondary. I actually think they're in a really good position on defense, but their secondary is suspect. They're going to continue to be challenged by teams like the Chiefs, like the Jets, like the Dolphins, maybe like the Bills, but certainly like the Texans, who are going to throw the ball down the field. I like the Ravens going and addressing their secondary, getting a really good corner, so I like what the Ravens did. What do you think of the Falcons getting a quarterback? I've heard a lot of people, Dan Orlovsky specifically, tried to justify what the Falcons did. I thought it was a terrible move. In the moment, I thought it was crazy. I thought it was a draft-changing move, but I also thought it was incredibly stupid. I don't know what the Falcons are thinking. I understand the Jordan Love, succession plan with Aaron Rodgers or Aaron Rodgers with Brett Favre. I understand the model, but points that were really made well today on ESPN were the Packers can afford to do that because they've been winning consistently, so they recognize they may not have the opportunity to draft someone in the top 10. The Falcons haven't won jack ever. The Falcons need to win a Super Bowl. The Falcons need to build as competitive a roster as possible. So I do think it's in one way smart for the Falcons to create an insurance policy in case Kirk Cousins gets hurt. On the other hand, I think that's incredibly arrogant. I didn't think they had the kind of leeway. I didn't think they had the room to go we'll just use a number 8 overall pick on a backup. I thought that is a reflection on where the Falcons, how delusional they are about the quality of roster that they actually have. I thought it was a big mistake. So I wish they had gone in a different direction. Some people think the Bills are going with Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. I think it's going to be Bills or Patriots going with him. Yep. What do we think of Suns and Timberwolves? Let's take a look at that game, everybody. Suns and Timberwolves tipping off at 10:30 tonight. Suns are getting the money. 67% of the money coming down on the Suns. Let's do some research for everybody. When the Suns are on 1 day of rest at home against an opponent with above 500 winning percentage, they are 10-8 straight up, so not great. Let's see when they're a home favorite under that scenario. Actually, I'm not seeing them as a favorite right now. Killer Sports not putting out the odds, a little too bad. The under's been a very consistent play. This is what I would say. I'm not crazy about the Suns and Timberwolves, but the total might be a spot you want to bet. Right now the total, wow, it's set at 208.5, maybe not. That is incredibly low. Wow. Why is it so low? Injury report, Grayson Allen, game time decision. Kyle Anderson, game time decision. The total for Timberwolves and Suns is 208.5. That is crazy low. Let's dive into some research, everybody. Try to get an understanding as to why this total is as low as it is. Let's look over the course of the season. When there's been a total less than or equal to 210, how is a home team done in that scenario? 31-15. So the home team has done very well when the total has been that low. In this case, the Suns have the low total. Let's see when the opponent winning percentage is high. Home teams are 20-9. I do like the Suns on the money line. I'll go with that. I do think the Suns bounce back and finally get a win in this game. Suns opened -3.5 and then moved to -5. Again, money coming down on the Suns. I'm going to take the Suns on the money line on this one. Suns on the money line. Part of me is thinking about the under, but the total's just a little too low for me. If I were to take the under, think 212.5, something like that. But I like Suns on the money line, everybody. The draft starts at 7, right? I believe it does. 2 rounds of coverage ahead. Springer under on hits. Very interesting question coming to us. Let's take a quick look. I'm going to go to ballparkpal.com over on my side notes. George Springer over half a hit's a good play. 1.5, I don't know about that. We'll take a quick look at it. Usually when hits are at 1.5, I just tend to avoid it. It's just not a very good bet. But let's take a look at George Springer, 1.5 hits. By the way, what would I take? I'd actually take George Springer over half a single. That's what I would take. George Springer over half a single. 1.5 hits. The under has a really strong implied probability. He's only had 2 hits in 3 of his last 10 games against right-handed pitching. 3 of his last 10 games at home. 4 of his last 10. Personally, I'm not crazy about Springer on hits tonight. I kind of agree with you. Under might be a better play, but I'll take George Springer over half a single. That's what I would take tonight. George Springer over half a single. I'm actually putting that one up on the board. So if you guys are interested in a player prop bet, there you go. There's one for you. Evan, I'm heavy on Jays over, so I don't mind the over 1.5 hits from Springer. I like the Blue Jays plus 1.5 myself, so I know the money's coming down on the Dodgers, but I actually like the Blue Jays. Who do I think gets Kool-Aid? Kool-Aid McKinstry, great question. The corner out of Alabama. I don't know. I actually bet that's going to be one in which a team trades up to get him. I think he may continue to fall a little bit to maybe the the early 40s, mid 40s, and then I think a team trades up to get him. So that's where I think Kool-Aid probably how his night plays out. Mookie Betts over 1.5 bases. I really like that one. Mookie Betts over 1.5 bases. That actually is a bet that I do like. I'm going to quickly throw it up on our player prop bet big board just to do our research on it. Mookie Betts, we're looking at total bases. 1.5. The under has the better implied probability, interesting. 54% on the under. He's gone over 1.5 in 3 of his last 5 games. On the road specifically, 3 of his last 10, 2 of his last 6. Against right-handed pitching, Bassett. Here's what's interesting. Against Bassett, Mookie Betts has bad numbers. Actually, this isn't a great bet. Against Bassett, Mookie Betts has just a 154 average in his career. So Mookie Betts, not a great matchup against Bassett. How about Shohei Ohtani? He does have a home run in his career against Chris Bassett. Just a 200 average, though. So I'm not as big on Shohei Ohtani, actually. Not as big on him, Carpe Diem. Kyrie on rebounds. We're getting a Kyrie rebounds question. Let's jump on over. Let's check out Kyrie Irving rebounds. His rebound total tonight, as you guys are bringing up, is set currently at 4.5. 60% implied probability on the over. He has gone over 4.5 rebounds in 6 of his last 7 games. This opened at 5.5. And has since come down to 4.5. Kind of interesting there. Kawhi Leonard, game time decision. Daniel Gafford, game time decision. Tim Hardaway Jr. is out. So let's just take a quick look. I'm kind of curious. When Tim Hardaway Jr. is out of the lineup, Kyrie on rebounds is very good without Tim Hardaway Jr. He has gone over 4.5 in 8 of his last 10 games without Hardaway Jr. At home, 9 of his last 10 games without Tim Hardaway Jr. Get this one up on the big board as fast as you can and get this one into a sports book as fast as you can. Someone just found a really good bet. Shout out to Drew, 7382. Kyrie Irving over 4.5 rebounds. Love, 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 love that bet. Great call by Drew, 73-82. Kyrie Irving over 4.5 rebounds. Great call, buddy. Great call. Frost is asking about Ronald Acuna Jr., specifically on total bases. Taking a quick look at our cheat sheet. Going up against Logan Allen. I'm not crazy about it. Not crazy about it, actually. I wouldn't touch Ronald Acuna Jr. on this one. No. Austin, one price. Falcons should have drafted Caitlin Clark. Anyone other than Penix. Honestly, Caitlin Clark would have driven up sales of jerseys a lot more than Michael Penix Jr. will. Evan, if he falls to mid-40s, Falcons better snag him and save some face. I actually think that's a great call. Evan, I think you're exactly right. Evan Courtney makes a great point. I think if Kool-Aid McKinstry falls to, like I said, that early 40s range, I think the Falcons would be really smart to draft him because they could use the help in the secondary, go along with A.J. Terrell. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I like what you're thinking there, Evan. Austin's got the Braves winning. I've got the Braves winning as well. Really quick, let's see how the money's coming down on that Braves game. Chris Sale on the bump for the Braves. Going up against the Guardians. Guardians are one of the best teams in baseball, so keep your eye on it. 81% of the money is on the Braves. I'm going to take the Braves to win. I'll put that one up on my big board as well. Braves on the money line, everybody. Braves on the money line. Kool-Aid to the Houston Texans. Would love to see that. They need help in the secondary. By the way, Braves with Chris Sale. Chris Sale is pitching really well. I understand that he hasn't been, scoreless, but when you watch him pitch, he looks like he did a couple years ago. The velocity is there. Love it. Trump won. Kyrie over 5.5. I'd still take it. 5.5 rebounds for Kyrie. I still think he gets there. It's been a pretty good trend. Here's a quick recap of the bets that we've given out so far during the show. We took Dame Lillard over 29.5 points. Kyrie Irving over 4.5 rebounds. We took Pacers on the money line. We took Suns on the money line. We took going to baseball. We took Giants on the money line, Rays on the money line, Mets on the money line, Orioles on the money line, and the Braves on the money line. And finally, I have George Springer over half a single. George Springer over half a single. Someone's asking about the Predators tonight. Let's zip on over and let's see how the money's coming down on Canucks Predators. Right now, the money is pretty split, actually. Only 55% of the tickets are on the Predators, but only 51% of the money. In fact, 86% of the money is actually on the Canucks to cover the 1-goal spread. Let's take a quick look. Jumping on over to killersports.com. Let's take a look at this game. Predators tonight. Team Predators. As an away favorite against an opponent with an average winning percentage greater than 500. They've done well of late, winning 6 of their last 8 under this scenario. They've gone 14-8 over the course of the season. Are they on 2 days of rest or 1? I think they're on 1 day of rest. Interesting. On the 1 day of rest, they're only 8-6. Very interesting. In their previous game was a win. 3-4. The under, previous game, was that a loss? Oh, I gotta change this. Hold on 1 second. Just pulling some things up here. Predators, Canucks. Who won the first game? Who won the previous game? Where's that NHL series stand? So Predators Canucks is tied 1-1. They played on the 23rd. Nashville. Okay, so the Predators lost. Predators lost game 2, right? It's 1-1. Predators lost game 2 or the Predators won game 2? Tell me, let me know. Because this is making a massive difference. This is making a massive difference. Who won game 2? Squirrely, why can't I scroll past this live? I don't know, buddy. Canucks goaltender in for remainder of the series. Okay, the Predators did win. Because what's interesting is, when the Predators won their previous game, and they're on 1 day of rest on the road against an opponent with an above 500 winning percentage, the under's gone 6-1. So the reason I'm reacting the way that I am is the under appears like a really good play. Not according to the money, but according to the situation. So just kind of curious about that. Yeah, Preds won game 2. Interesting. The under appears to be a very good trend. That's what I'm going to tell you right now. Yeah, Predators seem to, on the under, seems like a good trend. Okay, does Booker and KD, do they go off tonight? Let's go check out some player prop bets for Kevin Durant and Booker. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. We're looking at points for the two of them and seeing if either one of them has the opportunity to go off. Kevin Durant, 25.5 points is his point total. It opened at 26.5, has since gone down to 25.5. He's only gone over 25.5 3 times in his last 10 games against the Timberwolves. Hasn't been a great trend either. How about at home, though? 1 out of 3 games against the Timberwolves, so not very consistent there. If he's without Grayson Allen, this is actually a really good trend. Without Grayson Allen in the lineup, it's a good trend. When Grayson Allen hasn't played, Kevin Durant has gone over 25.5 points, 15 out of the 20 games without Grayson Allen. So here's what I would say. It's all about Grayson Allen's status tonight. If Grayson Allen is out, you go over 24.5 points. That's how I would play that. I'm going to put it up on the board. If you guys want me to, here you go. If Grayson Allen is out for tonight's game, Kevin Durant over 24.5 points. So that's to me what the big indicator is. It's all about whether Grayson Allen plays. If Allen does play, I wouldn't touch it. I'd probably avoid it altogether. But if Grayson Allen is out, Kevin Durant will get to 25 points is my prediction. So that's what I would say about that one. Let's flip it on over. Let's check out Devin Booker. Let's see if Devin Booker's got a good play in it. Devin Booker, his point total set at 25.5 as well. Now, Kevin Durant's got the better matchup in terms of against the Timberwolves, but both have tough matchups. Booker has not been consistently going over this total either. How about at home? Not consistent. Let's see if Grayson Allen, when Grayson Allen is out, it's been a decent trend. I say the same thing. If Grayson Allen is out, I'm making the same kind of bet. If Grayson Allen is out, I would take Devin Booker over his point total. But if Grayson Allen plays, I wouldn't touch it. If Devin Booker is out, I'd go Devin Booker over 24.5 points. I could see both Durant and Booker each getting 25 points, but only if Grayson Allen is out. If Grayson Allen plays, it is not a good bet. If Grayson Allen is out, it is a good bet. So I'm making sure you guys hear that now. Someone is asking about the status of Chris Middleton. Looking at the injury report, Chris Middleton, it sounds like he's going to play. He is not listed on the injury report, so our expectation is Chris Middleton will play tonight. Martin V, Bucks Pacers over under the point total. Right now it's set at 22.5. How's the money coming down on it? Actually, the over is getting a lot of love. 86% of the money is on the over. I'm not huge on it, on betting the total right now, but yeah. Oh, by the way, that game did start. It started at 5:30, so didn't even realize that game was getting off to the early start. So that game already underway. Hope you guys were able to get in some of the bets that we made on it. Appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. We are going to sign off in just a moment, but really quick, here's a recap of the picks that we've given out so far. We like Dame Lillard over 29.5 points. I know that game's already underway. We do have the Pacers on the money line again for that game already underway. We have Kyrie over 4.5 rebounds. If Grayson Allen doesn't play, Kevin Durant over 24.5 points and Booker over 24.5 points if Grayson Allen doesn't play. We also have the Suns on the money line. I do think the Suns get a win tonight. I've got Giants on the money line, Rays on the money line, Mets on the money line, Orioles on the money line, Braves on the money line, and George Springer over half a single. Those are the bets that we are making today. Since there is an NBA playoff game on right now, go watch it, everybody. Go watch. Go watch. We're going to sign off right now. We'll catch you guys again tomorrow. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you did, hit the follow button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're live with us tomorrow. Can't wait to see you then. Until then, everybody, have a great night. Goodbye.